before Ralph crammed and threatened to send Alice to the moon, before bus drivers became television icons, before working-class families had their own primetime spotlight. There was a revolution happening in a tiny Brooklyn apartment. The Honeymooners ran for only one season as a standalone show, just 39 episodes. But those 39 episodes changed television comedy forever. You think you know about Ralph and Alice and Ede and Trixie. You remember the yelling and the schemes and that cramped kitchen. But behind the scenes were secrets so bizarre they sound made up. Some involve lost episodes worth millions. Others involve a photographic memory that defied belief. And one fact about how the show was made will absolutely blow your mind. Get ready to discover the weird truth about one of the greatest sitcoms ever made. Here are 10 weird facts about the Honeymooners that will absolutely amaze you. Number 1. Jackie Gleason had a photographic memory and never rehearsed. This sounds impossible, but it is completely true. Jackie Gleason had what scientists call eidetic memory. He could read something once and remember it forever. He could look at a script for a few minutes and memorize the entire thing. But here is the twist. He refused to rehearse anyway. Gleason believed rehearsing killed the spontaneity of performance. He would read the script once on Friday, then he would show up Saturday night and perform it live. No practice, no run-through, nothing. Carney said it was absolutely terrifying working this way. The other actors would rehearse all week without Gleason. They would practice with the director standing in for Ralph. Then on show night, Gleason would appear and do it perfectly. He knew every line, every cue, every movement, but he had never actually done it before. Can you imagine performing live television with no rehearsal? The show went out to millions of viewers with no safety net. If Gleason forgot something, the whole thing would fall apart. But he never forgot. His memory was so good that he could also remember every piece of music he ever heard. He conducted orchestras without sheet music. Number 2. They filmed each episode twice in one night. Here is a fact that shocks everyone who hears it. Every episode of The Honeymooners was performed twice in one night. They did the show at 8 p.m. for the East Coast broadcast. Then the actors took a short break. Then they performed the entire episode again at 11 p.m. for the West Coast. That means 39 episodes were actually 78 live performances. Think about how exhausting that must have been. These were not short episodes either. Each one ran about 30 minutes. So the actors were performing a full hour of live television every Saturday, with no script in Gleason's case, with minimal rehearsal for everyone else. Carney said some nights he thought he might collapse from exhaustion. The second performance was always different from the first. Gleason would change things up. He would try different line readings. He would add new physical comedy. Sometimes the second show was better than the first. Sometimes the first show was better. The director would choose which version to keep. Whichever one had better energy and fewer mistakes became the official episode. The other version was usually destroyed. Can you imagine doing your job perfectly twice in one night? And knowing that millions of people were watching both times, the pressure must have been unbelievable. But this is also why the show feels so alive. The actors were not just going through the motions. They were genuinely performing. Every week was like opening night of a Broadway show. Except they had to do it twice. Number 3. Lost episodes were found in a closet worth millions. In 1985, something incredible happened. A man named Bob Fernand was cleaning out Jackie Gleason's office. He opened a closet and found stacks of old film canisters. Inside were episodes of The Honeymooners that everyone thought were lost forever. These were not the classic 39 that everyone knew. These were sketches from the early 1950s before the official series. They had been performed live on a show called Cavalcade of Stars. Most people assumed these early episodes were gone. Live television was not always recorded back then, but someone had filmed them using a kinescope process, and Gleason had kept the films in his closet for 30 years. The discovery was enormous news. Television historians went crazy. Here were dozens of Honeymooners episodes nobody had seen in decades. The episodes were compiled and released as the lost episodes. They sold millions of copies on VHS and DVD. Gleason's estate made a fortune from the discovery. But here is what makes it even weirder. Gleason probably knew the episodes were there the whole time. He had a photographic memory, remember. He did not forget things. So why did he hide them for 30 years? Some people think he did not like the quality. Kinescope looked grainy compared to the later filmed episodes. Others think he was waiting for the right time to release them, or maybe he just forgot they had value. Either way, those dusty film canisters in a closet turned out to be worth millions of dollars. It is like finding a Picasso in your attic. Number 4. The actors performed to 2 different audiences simultaneously. Here is something that sounds like it cannot be true. The show was filmed in front of a live studio audience, but it was also being broadcast live to millions at home. That means the actors were performing to 2 completely different audiences at the same time. The studio audience was right there in the theater. The actors could hear them laugh and react, but millions more were watching on television screens across America. This created a strange dynamic. If the studio audience did not laugh, the actors knew a joke had failed, but maybe people at home were laughing. There was no way to know. The studio audience had also seen the show before if they stayed for the second performance. Some people watched both shows in one night, so the actors had to make the second performance fresh even though some audience members had already seen it. Gleason loved this challenge. He would intentionally change things in the second show to surprise the repeat viewers. He might add a new insult to Alice. He might do a different physical bit with Norton. The people who stayed for both shows got 2 unique experiences, but here is the really weird part. Sometimes Gleason would play to the home audience instead of the studio audience. He would do subtle facial expressions that the camera caught but the theater audience might miss. He understood that television was an intimate medium. People at home were watching on small screens in their living rooms. So he would give them little moments just for them. This was revolutionary. Most variety show stars played to the live audience. Gleason played to both. He understood the medium better than almost anyone. Number 5. Art Carney was seriously injured in World War II. Most people know Art Carney as the lovable Ed Norton, but few know about his painful past. Carney served in World War II as an infantryman. During the Battle of Normandy, he was hit by shrapnel. The injury severely damaged his leg. He walked with a limp for the rest of his life. If you watch closely, you can sometimes see it in his performance. The loose, shuffling walk that Norton had was partly Carney compensating for his injury. He turned a disability into a character trait. But the pain was real and constant. Carney never talked about it publicly. He did not want sympathy or special treatment. He just did his job and dealt with the pain. Some days were worse than others. On bad days, he could barely stand for the full performance. But he never complained. He never asked for accommodations. Jackie Gleason knew about the injury and respected Carney deeply for his service. Gleason would sometimes adjust blocking to make it easier on Carney. But he did it subtly so Carney would not feel embarrassed. This is part of why their friendship was so strong. Gleason admired Carney's toughness, and Carney appreciated Gleason's unspoken kindness. Years later, when Carney won an Oscar for Harry and Tonto, he had to walk upstairs to accept it. You could see the pain in his face, but he smiled and gave a gracious speech. That was Art Carney, a war hero who never wanted credit, a man who turned suffering into art. Ed Norton was silly and funny, but the man playing him had survived hell. Number 6. Audrey Meadows negotiated to be paid in cash. Here is one of the strangest contract stories in television history. Audrey Meadows did not trust checks or bank transfers. She demanded to be paid in cash every week. The producers thought this was bizarre, but Meadows insisted. Every Friday, an accountant would come to the set with an envelope full of cash. Meadows would count it right there in front of everyone. Then she would put it in her purse and take it home. Why did she do this? Meadows had seen too many actors get cheated by studios. She had watched friends receive bad checks. She had heard about accounting tricks that made money disappear, so she decided the only way to be sure she got paid was cash in hand. The studio hated this arrangement. It created accounting headaches, but Meadows would not budge. No cash meant no Alice. So every week they brought her the money. Here is what makes it even more interesting. Meadows was incredibly smart with money. She invested her cash wisely. She bought real estate. She saved and planned for the future. While Jackie Gleason spent money as fast as he made it, Meadows built real wealth. When she died, she left a substantial estate, all because she insisted on cash and managed it carefully. This was rare for actresses in the 1950s. Women were not supposed to be tough negotiators, but Meadows knew her worth. She demanded fair payment, and she made sure she actually received it. That takes courage and business sense. Number 7. The set had no bathroom and caused real problems. That famous Camden apartment set was supposed to represent a real Brooklyn tenement, but here is something viewers never thought about. There was no bathroom visible anywhere. You saw the kitchen. You sometimes saw the bedroom through a door, but no bathroom ever appeared. This was intentional. Television's networks in the 1950s had strict rules about showing bathrooms. It was considered improper and crude, so sitcoms just pretended bathrooms did not exist. But this created real problems for the actors. The set was built on a soundstage with audience bleachers. The nearest real bathroom was far away. During the break between the two live performances, the actors had very little time. They needed to use the bathroom. They needed to touch up makeup. They needed to hydrate and rest. But there was no bathroom near the set. Carney said he would have to run across the entire studio. Sometimes he barely made it back in time for the second show. Jackie Gleason handled it differently. He had a private dressing room with facilities. Between shows, he would disappear there. The crew joked that Gleason had his own kingdom while everyone else suffered. But here is the weirdest part. Because bathrooms could not be shown, the writers could never do bathroom humor. Think about how much comedy involves bathrooms today. Entire scenes take place there. The Honeymooners could never use that. They had to find comedy in other situations. Some writers said this limitation actually made them more creative. They could not rely on easy bathroom jokes. They had to work harder. Sometimes limitations force innovation. Number 8. Jackie Gleason made $100 million from the show. Here are some numbers that will shock you. Jackie Gleason negotiated to own the Honeymooners completely. The network got broadcast rights, but Gleason kept ownership. This was almost unheard of in 1955. Most actors had zero ownership, but Gleason understood the future of television. He knew reruns would become valuable. He knew syndication could make real money. So he fought for ownership and won. Over the next 40 years, that decision made him over $100 million. The show went into syndication immediately after the original run. Local stations bought the rights to air episodes. Every time an episode played, Gleason got paid. Then came home video, then cable television, then international sales. The money kept rolling in for decades. Gleason lived like a king because of those 39 episodes. He had mansions and cars and private jets, all funded by a show that only ran one season. Meanwhile, the other actors made almost nothing from reruns. Carney got his salary and that was it. Audrey Meadows got her cash payments and nothing more. Joyce Randolph got even less. None of them negotiated for residuals or ownership. So Gleason became fabulously wealthy while his co-stars got nothing extra. This created some resentment over the years. Carney never complained publicly, but friends said it bothered him. He helped create something that made millions, but only Gleason got rich. This is still a problem in entertainment today. The stars and owners get wealthy. Everyone else gets forgotten. The Honeymooners is a perfect example of this unfair system. Number 9. The show was banned in several countries. Here is something most Americans do not know. The Honeymooners was banned in several countries when it tried to expand internationally. Why? Because Ralph's threats of violence against Alice were considered too disturbing. In the United Kingdom, censors said the show promoted domestic abuse. They refused to air it on the BBC. In Australia, it was shown late at night with warnings. In some European countries, it was edited heavily. Any scene where Ralph threatened Alice got cut. This made many episodes incomprehensible. The plot would suddenly jump because key scenes were missing. American producers were shocked. They insisted the show was harmless fun. Ralph was clearly all bluster. He never actually hurt Alice. She was always in control, but international censors disagreed. They said even joking about hitting women was unacceptable. This cultural difference reveals something important. American audiences in the 1950s had different standards. What seemed like obvious comedy to Americans seemed threatening to others. Over time, even American attitudes changed. By the 1980s, some critics here said the same things. The threats were not as funny anymore. Jackie Gleason defended the show until he died. He said anyone who thought Ralph was actually abusive missed the entire point. Ralph was weak and pathetic. Alice was strong and smart. The comedy came from his empty threats, but not everyone saw it that way. The international bans meant the show never became a global phenomenon. It remained primarily an American treasure, and the controversy never fully went away. Number 10. The final episode was not meant to be the finale. Here is the last and maybe strangest fact. The 39th episode was not written or intended as a series finale. Jackie Gleason simply decided to stop making new episodes. He told the network and the cast after filming was already done. Everyone assumed they would return for season 2. Scripts were being written. Stories were being planned. Then Gleason announced he was done. The cast was shocked. The network was furious, but Gleason owned the show. He could do whatever he wanted. So the final episode that aired was just a regular episode. No special ending, no big goodbye, no resolution or closure. It just stopped. Imagine watching your favorite show and having it suddenly end with no warning. That is what happened to Honeymooners fans in 1956. They waited for the show to return in the fall, but it never did. Gleason moved on to other projects. He did variety shows and specials. He brought back the characters occasionally for one-off sketches. But the sitcom was over. This abrupt ending actually helped the show's legacy. It never had a chance to decline. It never ran out of ideas or got stale. Those 39 episodes remained perfect. No bad seasons, no jumping the shark, just pure quality that ended at its peak. Gleason knew what he was doing. He protected his creation by walking away. That takes incredible discipline that most creative people do not have. And most of all, remember that greatness does not require length. Sometimes one perfect year beats 10 mediocre ones. Jackie Gleason understood that. He gave us quality over quantity, and those 39 episodes will live forever.